What if learning too much too early had its advantages? The last video I discussed all the disadvantages of doing that. Purchasing software too soon, purchasing equipment too soon, purchasing courses too soon, all before we're at the point of implementation. I went down that whole rabbit hole of what the negative effects of doing that are. In this video, I'm going to share what are some of the positives. Because in most cases, you've done this. You've purchased courses maybe you haven't completed yet. Maybe you've completed, but you haven't implemented yet. And you've got multiple other courses in the queue that you're going to study and internalize that information. Or maybe it's new camera gear. Maybe it's a tripod. Maybe it's a gimbal. Maybe it is a new camera. Whatever it may be, what are some of the advantages to that? Because we don't want to look at that history of being in that cycle of consumption and learning and not applying, because there is some value to that. We can't totally dismiss or diminish all that time you've invested there. So let's start from the beginning. So software. When I think of some of the software that I purchased early on, there was some AI software that I no longer use, that I've just used Claude or used ChatGPT. But early on, there was software that the interface looked nice and clean. It made sense to jump into it because there was a lot of buzz, a lot of promotion around it. Eventually, I canceled it, but one of the things is by diving into some of those software platforms, you can learn what works, what doesn't work, what can be done better, and then you can adapt to that when you are using ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude or Gemini, whatever your go-to is. So there are some learnings just from being invested in that tool, using that tool, even if it was a minimum extent and you just had a reoccurring bill over time. There had to be some time you spent in that tool and some takeaways and some learnings. There's also probably a lot of learnings that you have that you don't even recall you learned from using that particular software. For me personally, maybe I didn't implement it right away, but it was something that was helpful in my job. So it may not be something that you're creating content and products or assets, digital assets with now, but maybe it's something that you're applying somewhere else. Maybe you're applying it in your job, or maybe you do have clients that you're working with that you're applying it. So there is some value in that. So I don't want you to be down on that or dwell on what those investments were and not seeing the return on it, because all of this is cumulative and is going to be, I think, more beneficial than not in some examples. So we have software, we have what else? We have tools and equipment. I need to find it, but somewhere around here I have one of those flip video cameras. Where it just had the cable that flipped out with the USB and it plugged right in your computer, so you could easily go from video filming to transferring that video file to your desktop and uploaded the video. Now, I have no idea how old that is. I did find it recently, and there's pictures of me chasing the dog around the house, filming some videos, but I never made any content with it. I never posted anything on YouTube or did anything with it. It's really just a really cool thing to have. It's like a dinosaur at this point. So that can happen too. If you're too excited about something, you purchase it and then it's obsolete by the time you use it, and we talked about that. But there's also some upside. When you are ready to hit the ground running and make some things happen and create some content, record some content, you'll have the tools that you need. So in that moment, you can jump right into it versus overthinking and dwelling and postponing things. So for instance, when filming these recent videos here, I already had a tripod. I had the small rig that's mounted to the back of my iPhone so that I can use the higher resolution camera and see what my field of vision is with that small rig, which is just another display that I can look at, that I'm looking at right now. I had it. I was able to jump right in. I thought I was going to have to buy a tripod, and I had one from the last time I was motivated and never started. So that was really cool to have that. They didn't postpone any time in filming any video. Most of us already have a phone that's of high quality that we can use as our camera, so you don't need to make an investment in a camera. The lighting here I've used for several years. It was more for work. It was for conference calls and Zoom calls. So I had that already set up. It was already set up in place. Didn't use that for YouTube. Didn't have any content for YouTube back then, but now I have it. And why is this thing zooming in and out? This drives me bonkers. We're going to get this figured out one of these days. Why this zoom? Look at this. This is insane. I don't even think I did anything. I thought I changed the settings in here, but somehow I didn't. So let's see if we can get out of this. This has got to look ridiculous. One second. Let's get this figured out here. And we're back until it does it again. And now we're blurry. Come on, iPhone. You're killing me right now. This thing is still blurry, for crying out loud. And we're back. So anyway, you have the equipment there when you do need it. So it's not a complete loss unless it's something where, that piece of equipment is now obsolete and you wouldn't use it anyway. So we covered the software. We covered the tools and equipment and gear and all that stuff. What about webinars and just consuming digital content? Well, in some cases, you can still access that content. At the point of implementation, you can go back. Hopefully you've completed it. I know that most of the stuff I have completed. There's some that I still have sitting in the queue that I haven't touched, that I need to revisit. You can take a look at that. Let's see. But it's, in many cases, some of that software, some of the higher end tiered software, you might pay an expensive rate in the thousands, but it's being continually updated. Those are great finds, because there are some courses that are high ticket that don't. And at some point, they're gone, and hopefully you downloaded that content to use. But again, not a complete loss. There's some things and lessons that you could have learned along the way that you'll apply in the future. And I think one that just to give an example that comes to mind, and it was most likely some type of affiliate training that was sharing the idea of how valuable a thank you page is. And how often somebody lands on your thank you page and it's like, hey, great, we appreciate you. Check your email for the confirmation. When here you have somebody that spent and invested in what you had to offer, your products or services, you have their captive attention. Now, maybe they're driving, or there's some instance where they're not going to be able to dial into the content, but it could be another offer. It could be a video thank you. It could be something that you want to share, some kind of message. Why not put something on a thank you page? That's something, somewhere along the way that I learned. So there's things like that you can learn, and when you're ready and you have a page built in the site and a thank you page, you remember that idea from some time ago that you can get implemented. So things aren't always a complete loss on that. And when I opened that previous video, I think I'd mentioned, I spent all this time learning and created or built nothing with it, which isn't, and I mentioned that wasn't entirely true, but a lot of truth to it. But when I think back on that, learned how to use WordPress, built multiple sites. Okay, granted they were more of hobby sites, but then did have the opportunity to build a website for a nonprofit that needed somebody, and I knew how to do it. I had the skills to do it, was able to build that whole website. There was a lot of good learning lessons from that I can share too, but none of that would have happened had I not dabbled in some of those other more hobby websites or affiliate websites. And even back, it's probably been 18 years ago, creating a PDF digital, I guess you would say it would be a course, a very small course. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a 60-pager back then. But had that experience, a lot of learning lessons in that on setting up checkout. Things are much complicated back then than they are today. So don't look at that as a complete loss if you have a lot of unused software, tools, knowledge in your brain. It's better to have that knowledge than not. So when you're ready to get started, you can hit the ground running. Have an amazing day and talk with you soon.